Do you suffer from debilitating migraines? You know, that throbbing pain in the front or side of your head that's so severe you're unable to work or do anything other than retreat into a dark and quiet room? Have you had them for years and just haven't found a solution? Call Dr. Elizabeth Ebersol and put an end to your debilitating migraines forever. Or go to her website at www.handmadehealth.com. That's www.handmadehealth.com.
Well, hello, everybody. Balls to the Wall, episode number 49. I'm your co-host, Kenny Matthews, and my sidekick over here is Mr. Billy Martin Jr. How the heck are you doing during World Series week, baby?
Favorite time of year. On. Stars and World Series games while Monday Night Football's going on at the same time. It was, my neck tore from looking all over the sports bar the other night.
I needed to be in a sports book in Vegas last night. That would have been the perfect place for me, for sure. It really was. Wow. Well, the World Series has been fun so far. Billy, I really would like to talk about something that's kind of, we've talked about Trashgate with the Astros several times on our Balls to the Wall episode. We've got a little imbroglio going on there in Ann Arbor with our main man, Jim Harbaugh, who never has found an area that he doesn't like to be in the gray area his whole life. And he might have bit off a little bit too much for him this time around, though. Obviously the Connor Stallings guy wasn't a former, well, I guess he's on temporary leave right now, paid leave from the Michigan employee right now. 30 tickets to away games purchased for around the 40, 50-yard line opposite each side. There's allegedly, and all this is allegedly, he's got some, things on his phone that says he was obviously shooting the signs of the opposing team as they're giving out their signals to their players. For me, Billy, it seems like Jim Harbaugh seems to be better than everybody else. It seems like he portrays that he can get away with things that the rest of society cannot get. I don't have much of a problem you stealing signals or signs during a game. That's fair game. As you and I have stated before, if you can figure out what they're doing on the field while the game is going on without a camera, then it's okay. I don't have a problem with that. Obviously, this is a much bigger deal here for Mr. Harbaugh and Mr. Stallings. I don't know exactly where it goes from here, but Billy, I'm dying to understand from a sport that's made stealing okay, as we steal bases, we steal signs. How do you feel about Mr. Harbaugh with doing this now on the football field?
I feel like his fans should feel lucky that he is willing to go to that extra effort to win, because that's what it's all about. My father's quote was, cheating is as big a part as Cracker Jacks and hot dogs. And you're trying to win if you're doing that. I mean, is it what a gentleman would do? No. Do you want a gentleman running your football team? Do you want a gentleman running our country? No, we want somebody that's going to make good decisions and win. So I say, here's to Jim Harbaugh. Next time, do a better job where you don't get caught.
Well, that's my area with him. In the bylaws in the book, it says you cannot use audio equipment to steal signs. Why do you still have a smoking gun and a laptop at the office that the people are confident
allowed on the field? Absolutely. Why do they allow laptops and phones in the dugout in baseball games? I don't get it. That to me, they're just screaming, it's okay. That's a lot easier than banging trash can lids.
But You have to go and bury the evidence a little bit better. You need to take a page out of Jimmy Hoffa's book, don't you? On how to make sure you don't have something coming back to to bite you in the ass, especially since you already got in trouble early in the year for the stuff he did during the pandemic, where he was suspended for 3 games because he fed some kids during the pandemic. I mean, that's another story for another day. It really doesn't matter. But you're already on alert, to say the least, to say that. So, you've got to make sure that you cover your ass just a little bit better than it looks like right now. And for me, is Stallings going to be the fall guy here? I mean, does he take the heat for Harbaugh in here? Does he walk the plank for these guys? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, especially when you get the NCAA asking a whole lot of questions, you better answer them rightly now, because if not, you're going to have to show a just cause and be out of the NCAA for a couple of years.
Well, I think this probably works right into his plan, because I bet we're going to see Jim Harbaugh donning an NFL cap next year.
Yeah.
And who do you think his first hire is going to be? So he's going to hire that kid to run his analytics program and move on.
Well, I like the new little nugget that came out today. He imposed as a Central Michigan coach September 2nd when Central Michigan played Michigan State. He's on Central Michigan sidelines dressed up as a Central Michigan assistant coach. Now that is unbelievable to me. It's like, in this day and age where everybody's shooting everything. I mean, if it's people in the stands, if it's the people in the networks, whatever, how did you get on the field as a Central Michigan assistant coach? And how did you get to stay on the field that long before the Central Michigan coaches realized that you weren't a Central Michigan coach? I mean, man, talking about pulling the wool over some eyes, that guy's not bad.
No, that'd be one of my hires. That's for sure.
Man, you talk about, I mean, stealing, Billy, it's been going on in professional sports since how long? I mean, it's just part of the game.
Well, okay, let's transition that into one of our other topics. We're going to talk about top World Series moments in history. Okay, if you look at most people's number one World Series moment of all time, it's the shot heard around the world, Bill Mazeroski's 1960 home run. Well, guess what, everybody? That sign was stolen. The bullpen guys in left center field had a big pile of towels. And in the middle of that pile of towels, hidden, was a telescope. So one of the guys could lean down and look at the telescope and tell his teammate who was standing up, who was swinging a towel, letting the hitter know what was coming. And the shot heard around the world, the number one all-time most famous World Series moment, was a stolen sign home run where the Pirates beat the Yankees. So, I mean, does that change that? Do people now look back and say, oh, gosh, that was dirty play? Hey, look, he still had to hit it. He still had to square it up.
Yes.
And,
and not a bandbox yard either.
No.
Forbes, that's a pretty good poke when you hit it out the left center. I mean, it's not a cheapie. So yeah, you gotta barrel it up pretty good. Still.
All this stuff. If you're changing your signs every inning, you don't got to worry about that.
And Billy, there's another thing. Opposing teams, just change up your signs. It's really simple. If you suspect, as TCU did when they played Michigan last year, that they were sign stealing, I don't think Michigan did a great job of stealing their signs last January against TCU. So I said, just simply change them up. And better yet, I even think a better thing is, the NFL has the camera. I mean, the headphones in the quarterback's head. Why can't we do that on the college level? It's not like we're not printing money.
Well, but you know what? There'll be guys figuring out how to break into that and listen.
I always thought that there's tech guys right now figuring that out. What frequency you're on, what this, boom, boom, send it to the water boy, and the water boy throws in a nice little handshake to the head coach and says, "Here, you know."
Hey, come on! Out how to steal millions of dollars of Mark Cuban's crypto, and get it each of us at the gas station. They're going to figure that one out too.
As long as there is a trophy, Billy, there's always going to be a way. Somebody's going to try to finagle their way towards it, dude. And if it skirts the rules a little bit, oh well.
If you're not cheap.
Well, man, one of my famous World Series moments, and I kind of picked three that I actually was really kind of involved with a little bit, or emotionally involved. My first one's going to be is the '84 World Series, Game 6, with old Mr. Kirk Gibson. I believe it was Game 5. Game 5. And I mean, the little bit of banner before that is that, Kirk Gibson had made a $10 bet with Sparky Anderson before this comes up, that Goose Gossage was going to pitch to him. Goose Gossage before that time had owned him. And so, he made a little $10 side bet. No big deal. But but Dick Williams goes out to that mound when he comes up with 2 men on. First base is open at this point in time. So, I mean, he could have walked Kirk Gibson, but Gossage talks him out of it. Says, no, I want to pitch to him. The thing I like about this is when you see the shot in the dugout of Sparky Anderson just says, he gives him the good old, just go out and hack away. And that bomb to upper tank in Old Tiger Stadium. I mean, at that point in time, I'm a senior in high school at the time. And it seemed like I had never personally heard a stadium that loud before, on the TV screen coming out. And the way he jogged around the bases and everything, that was a big moment for me. It was a thrilling moment. I didn't realize the 2 out of the next 4 World Series going to even maybe top that, at the time. But boy, it was a great moment for Billy. I'm sure it was a big moment for you as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's in more than one, right?
Yes.
I mean, 88, I was bartending at college, but it was awesome because everybody was dialed into the game. And so I really got to watch it all. And we had a big screen, and Gibson limping in out of the Dodger bench and hitting that home run. I mean, the arm, he was so pumped. And I was trying to explain that to one of my clients recently. I get tired of the act, the player that has the little dance they do afterwards. They have the little choreographed moves.
Right.
But watch Kirk Gibson in the '88 World Series after he hits that home run when he's jogging the bases. I mean, that's real emotion. That's not he was just pumped. And that's one of my all-time favorite moments. Obviously, number 2 on the list was Don Larson's perfect game in 1956. And my father was down at second base and got a knock in that game and played pretty well. I've just seen video of it. You've seen the black and white video, but that's it, right?
That's pretty good World Series. Yeah, your dad could swing the stick during the World Series. He didn't have a problem with that. It was those July, June games, maybe. Yeah, he didn't care so much about that. Come October, that stick was hot.
I wish I would have asked him that one time, Kenny. Why? Why were you so good in the postseason? When you were he was average player. He wasn't a bad player, but he wasn't a superstar. He was a World Series superstar. I mean, he's also on number 10 on that very list. They have his catch on Jackie Robinson's pop fly in Game 7. That was won the series.
Won the series. It looked like nobody wanted that ball, and your dad's on a dead sprint catching that thing. I mean, that's a tough catch on a dead sprint. I mean, it really is. That it really is. I don't think people really realize how tough of a catch that was, because it was like everybody had their thumb up their ass, and all of a sudden your dad said, "The hell with this." Let me go get it.
Notice that none of those guys were going after the ball because the ball was really between, home plate and the pitcher's mound, just slightly on the first base side. And Dad realized they're all kind of looking at each other like, who's going to get? That's when he took off.
And they win the series. And if you look at the highlights, Billy, there's no like overly joy jumping around, exuberant. It was like business as usual in a July 2nd game, with those guys. I'm like, I know they got a little spoiled winning in the fall, a little bit, but that's like, it was really weird. But I'm glad you did bring that one up. I did want to say, I want to go back a couple of years later, being in college. It's the 86 World Series. It's the Billy Buckner game. And the caveats into that game to me are even more than just actually the ball going underneath. Harry Wendelstedt asking Wade Boggs when there's 2 outs in the 9th inning and nobody on, "Can I get your cap?" Harry Wendelstedt had been collecting winning third baseman's caps before this. He asked him this with 2 outs in the 9th. The flash of "Congratulations, Boston Red Sox, world champions 1986," as Gary Carter's coming to the plate in the bottom of the 9th. And they flashed it on accident, pure accident. Bob Costas, going from being in the locker room of the Red Sox, waiting for the champagne and all that to be doused, only for them to take everything back down and take everything out of the locker room and said, "We'll have to do this again tomorrow." I mean, it's just mind-boggling how all that came to tuition, and you feel horrible for Billy Buckner. And I'm so glad before he passed, he made up.
He should not have.
No, he shouldn't.
He should not have been out there. We know how bad his knee was. He was never a great defender when his knee was healthy.
That's the other caveat. McNamara was asked, why was he in the game? He thought Billy Buckner earned to be on the field with the last out.
Yeah, like it mattered to Buckner. Like, do you think Billy Buckner cared that he was out there for the last out or not? Or do you think he would
have the last out?
He just hit a double in the inning before.
Yes, he did. I was going to say that. Can you imagine going from the euphoria of getting a lead in the 8th inning because of one of your hits to 35 minutes later, you're the GOAT of Boston for 2 decades,
oh my
plus 2 more. And I mean, unfairly, it's very unfair that they were put down at, but the wild pitch at Mookie Wilson that ties it up. I mean, the thing about it was Schiraldi was all over the map that day. And it kind of reminds me of Mitch Williams, against Philadelphia a little bit. It really does. He just didn't have any control of that. And it's a shame that it was tarnished, but
he doesn't wear any of it. You're right. Buckner totally wears that whole thing. And
if you watched any of the documentaries on that, do you see when he puts his glove down, that glove was so flimsy, it just folds.
Yeah.
That's the reason why it went through his legs. I'm like, if he had a brand new glove, he probably catches it. If he had a brand new. I felt horrible for him, but that was a big one for me for sure. Was the 86 game with Buckner, and I was, a closet Met fan at the time because of Strawberry and Gooden, so it worked out for me in the end, but I feel horrible for Billy Buckner. But props to Boston for making up for him before he passed. That was a big moment a few years ago when he went back to Boston, and you could see the strain in his face when, he cried, when they gave him that standing ovation. And, that I'm glad that he had to have some peace before he went on to see the Lord. That's for sure.
Absolutely. No doubt about that. Can't talk about this stuff without Game 6, 1977.
Oh, yeah.
Reggie hitting 3 first pitch home runs. I was at that game.
Wrapped around a 4-pitch walk.
I mean, who does that? First pitch, all 3 first pitch home runs.
And his last swing at Chavez Ravine in Game 5, a home run to right field off of Bob Welch. So his next 4 swings are home runs in the World Series. Unreal. Wow. You can say what you want to about Mr. October and Mr. Billy Martin Sr. You can say whatever you want. They were both competitors, but let me tell you something. When it was October, name me somebody better.
Yep.
Maybe Big Poppy. Maybe Big Poppy. I mean, I just,
I actually, my father's postseason numbers are better than Big Poppy's.
To my point, name me somebody better than those two in the.
You know how funny that is. Yeah. My father, who's 5'10", with a good solid pair of spikes on, had more power than Big Poppy in the postseason.
It's crazy.
Dad
but nobody mentions Dad in that, and that's not right.
Right, Dad and Mickey Mantle hit back-to-back home runs 3 times in the World Series.
And Dad would hit 5, 6 a year?
His best year was 53. He hit 14. And during the regular season, he was batting 8-hole unless Whitey was up. Whitey hit 290. Whitey 4 could hit 290. So Casey would stick him in the 8-hole, and he knew they were best friends, so he knew it really pissed Dad off. So he did that to push his buttons a little bit. But in the World Series, he was batting behind Mickey. Move up from the 8-hole to the 5-hole, 4-hole. Yeah.
Bat 300 in the World Series, got to get that bat in. And the only thing that stopped him, the record is future guy that took over his position was Bobby Richardson.
Awesome.
I mean, it's unreal. But I was, the one thing about that 77 is that of all the home runs that he hit, why does the last one have to be just purely projected, majestic Reggie Jackson style, the deep center field on the tarp? I will never forget those guys running on the tarp to get that ball afterwards. And I'm going, and that ball looks like it's in New Jersey. Off Charlie Huff, the knuckler, nonetheless.
Were people not sitting there?
Yeah. Well, remember they used to block it off because they said they wanted to have a hitting background from the pitch. I know that's how they used to say it, but it wasn't that way in the day.
No,
it wasn't that way in the day at all. But yeah, that's just crazy.
And there may be some to it we don't know. There may be an issue with a danger issue. Yeah, there probably was. They were just going with that.
Probably is. But yeah, that was a couple of my World Series moments for you. You took my last one that I had, definitely was a 77. Seeing your dad and seeing Thurman Munson kind of give him that old grin when Reggie got the last one. It's kind of like, man, we hate this son of a bitch, but we got to give him props.
They didn't. That was all.
That was a huge moment. I had the other one was the 85 World Series, Game 6, obviously the Derkinger call that was missed, at first base that, cost basically the Cardinals the championship in 1985. I mean, the only one that was worse, I guess, would have been when Galarraga didn't get the perfect game because of the missed call at first base on out 27. But you felt bad. But what was that? Was that Ed? What was that? West who missed the call? Or was it Derkinger?
It was not.
It was Derkinger, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Derkinger. I think it was Derkinger.
And he wore it, man. I'll give him that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. He definitely wore it on that. But we do want you guys to enjoy the World Series this week. We want to keep them short and simple for you guys, man. But a couple World Series moments from us and Jim Harbaugh, please make sure you clean out your kitchen a little bit better next time so you don't get Danny Roach is running around. Well, guys, hey, and we appreciate you guys would subscribe to us on Facebook, Rumble, and X and Instagram. That would help us out. Hit the subscribe button on there so we can bring you some more content. We will be back with you guys next week. Billy, I know it's your best time of the year. Please enjoy the heck out. You got your sons in town, Dan. Enjoy. Y'all have fun. We'll see you next week, buddy.
See you guys.